We often used to say that Quran talk about the Big Bang. In the verse, do not the unbelievers see that the skies and lands were joined together before we clove them asunder? This clove them asunder means Big Bang. But there was problem. Those who know about astronomy, they used to catch in another point of the verse, because the word land is written in the verse, land, and in some of the translation you will find earth. The verse says, is translated as, do not the unbelievers see that the skies and the earth was joined together before we clove them asunder? It means earth was created before the universe. Now that point could be argued. One can translate earth as land. Actually, earth means land or lands, plural. It is both singular and plural. One can say lands means all the matter of the universe. But then again, during the Big Bang, matter of the universe, heavier matter that can form lands, was not created. So that verse was not actually supporting the Big Bang. But we used to say that the verse supports the Big Bang because it is written at the end, before we clove them asunder. So it gives a sense of Big Bang. Now the James Webb is uncovering what the verse actually meant by that word. Recent James Webb telescope is uncovering what the verse meant. In this respect, I show you a video, 1 minute. You can understand what the James Webb is discovering. In the Big Bang model of the universe, one has to say that initial hot stars or initial galaxies could not form before 400 million years ago, after the Big Bang. 400 million years after the Big Bang, the galaxies formed. But James Webb is showing that galaxies formed much earlier. You'll watch the video shortly. This is the video.
And interestingly, even though originally a lot of scientists were arguing that, well, for the most part, most of the early galaxies would probably only start forming about 400 million years after the formation of the universe, after the beginning of the Big Bang, a few 400 million years somewhere right here in this particular wavelength. And interestingly, even though originally a lot of scientists were arguing that, well, for the most part, most of the early galaxies would probably only start forming about 400 million years after the formation of the universe, after the beginning of the Big Bang, a few studies proposed something entirely different. They actually proposed that a lot of galaxies might have started forming much earlier, which ironically is exactly what the James Webb observations have right now been discovering, even in this very preliminary data. With all of these new discoveries uncovering galaxies in patches of dark space where nothing was previously visible. But the majority of the discoveries so far coming from this one observation of this galactic cluster, SMACS J0723, that essentially has this relatively powerful gravitational lens in the middle of it, formed by the galactic cluster with a lot of mass. We've discussed this in more detail in one of the previous videos. You can.
Now, galaxies formed much earlier. How it was possible? So, One can say there was land in the initial universe. Land means matter of the universe. So galaxies could form much earlier. And the space of the universe was webbed into skies. Skies means webs of space. The matter was distributed as such in 7 layers. Matter was distributed in 7 layers of space, spherical layers. So the space got webbed into 7 spherical layers. These 7 spherical webs of space form the complete universe. The webs of space are one inside another, like peels of onion. Like the peels of onion. We are in the innermost web. One can say in the first sky. That I will come subsequently. What the Quran actually says. I will use this PowerPoint to explain that. James Webb Telescope and the Quran. This is the Big Bang model of the universe. This is taken from Encyclopedia of Space Travel and Astronomy. This is density and this is time. Universe started from Big Bang, and from the Big Bang mainly hydrogen was created, 100% hydrogen. Hydrogen is the simplest form of matter, created from one proton and one electron. So it is the simplest form of matter. Subsequently, 25% hydrogen turned into helium. So initial universe produced hydrogen and helium only. Then universe expanded for long periods of time. Nothing much actually happened. So universe expanding and subsequently produced the galaxies. Scientists predict that this universe may expand forever, or this is Hubble's constant rate of expansion. The scientists predict that this universe may expand forever, or it may contract. This is the two likely future of the universe. It may expand forever, or it may contract. Now, from this picture, we come to know that Big Bang is a point or singularity where radiation turned into matter. It is a point of infinite density and temperature. Where the radiation turned into matter, that is the Big Bang, and it produced hydrogen and helium and a few other gases. One can say it produced the smoke. The Big Bang produced the smoke, not the lands. But the Quran says, do not the unbelievers see that the skies means universe, samawat means universe, and lands. In some of the translation it is written and earth, but you can translate it as lands. Lands means the earth is a land, planet Mars is a land, then Jupiter is a land. You can say all the lands. So you can just argue like that, but actually what it is telling, that heavier matter was created before or joined together in the state of unity. There were heavier matter before we clothed them asunder. Before the Big Bang, there was heavier matter in the universe. But from scientific explorations, we come to know that Big Bang produced hydrogen and helium only. This is the Big Bang. Now, there are two models of the universe. In one model, scientists say the universe may expand forever. Present scientists predict that the universe is flat. It may expand forever, or it may contract. If it contracts, it will contract after a very long period of time. So whatever, mainly there is two models. In one model, universe may expand forever. In another model, universe may contract. If universe contract due to gravitational force, the galaxies will start coming towards each other in an exceeding speed. Finally, all the objects will join together into a super dense singularity. This super dense singularity, it is like Big Bang. This super dense singularity at the end of the universe is called Big Crunch. Big Crunch. So universe may again collapse into a Big Crunch. I am showing this because the Quran support that universe will again collapse. I will subsequently show the verse. This is the verse. On the day when we will roll up the skies, means universe, like the rolling up of the scroll for writings. So universe will be rolled up. It's a kind of collapse. It will be rolled up into a point. So universe will collapse and it will collapse into a big crunch. Then what will happen? This big crunch may again explode like the Big Bang one, because Big Bang, Big Crunch, singularity all are same thing. Singularity at the beginning of the universe is called Big Bang. Singularity at the end of the universe is called Big Crunch. So from the Big Crunch, the universe may be created again. We may call it Big Bang 2, and a new universe will be born. The Quran indicates the new universe will be very violent, and it will be full of violent galaxies, and those are the objects of hell. And good people will be salvaged from initial state of this universe. There will be a specially created land in the super space where the judgment will be carried out, and from where good people will be salvaged to another universe. That another universe is called Jannat or paradise. Sinners will be left in this universe and they will never die. With this universe, they will be scattered in the galaxies of the new universe, and the galaxies are objects of hell. So this part I have talked, but this part one has to believe. But here universe give a likely model. There is a likely model of the universe proposed by the scientists, that universe may collapse. And the Quran also says, on the day when we will roll up the skies, universe will collapse. It is said in the Bible also, in many verses, the skies will be rolled up. In Bible too, skies means universe. So this is the next universe, and universe will be created again. That is said in the same verse. On the day when we will roll up the skies, means universe will contract like the rolling up of the scroll for writings. Universe will be contracted immensely. Then what will happen? As we originated the first creation is Big Bang 1. As we originated the first creation, we shall reproduce it. So this second creation will be like first creation, but with enough heavy matter. Second creation will be like first creation, but there will be information cannot be destroyed. So this second creation will be like the first creation. There will be information in the Big Crunch, and that will unfold, and a new universe will be created. That new universe will be created, will be like the old universe, this one. A promise on us, surely we will bring it about. As we originate the first creation, we shall reproduce it. A promise on us, surely we will bring it about. So this model is supported by the Quran. Now, problem is these lands, or in some verses, in some translation, it is translated as earth. This is the problem, because this presence of lands in this verse do not say, proves that the verse is not talking about Big Bang. Presence of lands proves that the verse is not talking about Big Bang 1. What this verse actually telling? The verse is actually talking about a big bounce. This verse indicates that universe was created from a big bounce. This is the verse. This initial universe was full of hydrogen and helium. It was a smoke. But the verse is talking there was lands. So this verse is not talking about the Big Bang. There are similar verses. There also another verse. This is another verse. It is He who has created for you all things that are on lands. On lands means here Arabic is fil ardi jamian, the assembly of lands. Means all the matter of the universe, assembly of lands. Fil ardi jamian, whatever is in the assembly of lands. If all matter of the universe was created here, then he turned to the sky. Sky means space. This sky means universe, but it was a universe with uniform space, single sky universe, and made them into 7 skies. There was universe was reinitiated as 7 skies. This 7 skies universe was initiated from a big bounce, and of all things he has perfect knowledge. So this reinitiation of the universe from a sky to 7 skies indicate that there was a big bang, a big bounce. I read the verse again. It is He who has created for you all that are on the lands, means all matter of the universes, at least up to silicon, with which the dust and asteroids can be created. Then he turned to the sky. Sky means single sky universe with uniform space, and made them into 7 skies. He waved the skies into 7 spheres, one inside another, like the peels of onions. These spheres of space is the skies. We are in the innermost sky. So the matter was distributed in the 7 spheres. So according to Einstein's theory, space also got webbed into 7 skies. But we see the universe like nets. Actually, inside the net there are voids, layers of voids, layers of matter, galaxies, layers of voids, layers of galaxies. These layers separate the skies, and there are filaments. So it is difficult to identify the skies. However, there are skies. I will discuss the sky later again. And all things he has perfect knowledge. Then, according to the Quran, universe started from a big bounce where there could be enough heavy material. If universe started from a big bang, there could be enough heavy material, maybe up to silicon. You can see the periodic table. Oxygen, magnesium, aluminum, those are lighter than silicon. So if there was silicon in the big bounce, that verse becomes true. So from the big bounce, where there was enough heavier material, at least up to silicon, universe started. So universe started from a fireball where there was land. And this universe, after the big bounce, the single sky universe was turned into 7 sky universe. From this big bounce, the universe became a 7 sky universe. Now, thus the universe is organized. This is present cycle of the universe. Do not the unbelievers see that the skies and lands, here now it supports this big bounce. Same verse I am showing. Do not the unbelievers see that the skies and the lands were joined together. Lands means dust and asteroids created from matter at least up to silicon. Were joined together. This joined together means they were in the fireball. Before we clove them asunder, before the big bounce. So from this cycle, this universe started from a big bounce. Thus the Quran supports a model that is cyclic universe model. But in traditional thought, the scientists will say scientists that a cyclic universe does not need a god. There could be many cycles before our present cycle. But the Quran says Allah created the universe in the previous cycle. There are verses that say that Allah created the universe in the previous cycle. This is second cycle running. We are in the second cycle of the universe that started from a big bounce. I show the other parts. It is who has created for you all things that are on lands. Fil arde jamians means all dust and asteroids means that was created from the elements up to silicon. Then he turned to the sky means single sky universe and made them into 7 skies. Then after the big bounce, universe became 7 sky universe. And of all things, he has perfect knowledge. This is second cycle. We are living in the second cycle. So there was a first cycle. At the beginning of the first cycle, Allah created the universe. First cycle. So Quran support there was a first cycle where the universe was created from a big bang and mainly smoke was created. Then from the smoke, dust and asteroids were created. At least elements up to silicon was created. And the universe contracted due to overwhelming temperature and pressure. It restarted from a big bounce when the universe became a 7 sky universe and the galaxies could quickly form. Now this is the model of the Quran according to these verses. According to these verses, we have to say that universe started from a big bounce. So there was a previous cycle, and previous cycle it was full of smoke, and God said that He created the smoke at first. How it says? Moreover, He did istawa. Istawa means infused gravitational force. Allah does istawa by infusing His force into the universe. He infuses His force into the universe like hands. Those are hands of knobs. Quran says on the day of judgment, skies will be rolled up in His hands. This hand is not His physical hand; it is His hand of His soul. And there is a God has a physique and He looks like a human. He lives in the arsh at the high, but He has powerful soul, and from the soul He exposes hands of force fields. This force field, one of these force field that has come to this universe as through His hand is gravitational force. So by this istawa, Allah infused gravitational force into this universe, the single sky universe, while it had been smoke. So this is the state when when Allah infused gravitational force or did istawa into this universe. Then what He did? He said to it, means smoke, and to the lands. After the gravitational force was infused, universe started contracting, and many big stars formed, and universe quickly contracted and produced elements up to silicon. So in the contracted universe, there was dust and asteroids. What the verse says, He said to it and to the lands. Lands means dust and asteroid created out of heavier elements up to silicon. And to the lands, He said to it and to the lands, come ye together willingly or unwillingly. Come ye together means He infused gravitational force that contracted them. Come ye together. They said, we do come in willing obedience. So the matter also is obedient to God. Laws of inertia came into effect, and they came in willing obedience. So He completed them as 7 skies. So He completed them as 7 skies into this means there was a big bounce, and the universe reinitiated from the big bounce. The 7 skies. These seven skies, remember these seven skies, look into this verse also. It is He who has created for you all things that are on the lands. Fil arde jamian here. Then He turned to the sky. Sky means single sky universe, and made them into seven skies. The seven skies was made in this point, in the point of big bounce. Here also seven sky is made in the point of big bounce, where there was enough heavy material. Then about the third cycle, it is a future cycle. One has to believe it. In the future, universe will again contract. I have also already shown the supporting verses. And then after the judgment in a specially created land, somebody will be salvaged to a separate universe that is called Jannat, and somebody will be thrown back into the big crunch, and with them they will not die. With them this new universe will be born, and that will be full of violent galaxies. Galaxies are the objects of hell. A man will get a complete galaxy as a vicegerent of God. So this is the model of the Quran. This is the model of the Quran. Now bring James Webb telescope in this model. On the day, this is, I have already referred, on the day when we will roll up the skies like the rolling up of the scroll for writing. As we originate the first creation, we shall reproduce it. As we originate the first creation is the Big Bang one. This creation here will not be a big bounce. It will be a creation from Big Bang 2. Reproduce it. A promise on us surely will bring it about. Now this is the model of the universe. This is science is so far saying that universe was created from a Big Bang, and there are many scientists, they also say that universe was created from a big bounce. But most of the scientists, most of the calculation, most of the computer simulation shows that universe evolved from a Big Bang. They predict that universe may contract and restart from a big crunch or from a big bounce. But in most of the model you will find that they say that universe evolved from a Big Bang. We are in the first cycle. Scientists say we are in the first cycle. The Quran says we are in the second cycle. We are in the second cycle. What James Webb telescope says. Now what the scientists say, I show it in more detail. This is the GAT era. GAT means combination of force fields. Actually GAT is force field. What scientists call force field is called soul in the book of God. Soul. In the beginning the soul was hovering over the water. So God created water before the Big Bang. He created a huge quantity of water to make another universe that I have called Jannat. Jannat is paradise, full of beautiful planets and full of water. So God created water for another universe called Jannat, and on that water a soul provided God by the God was hovering. That soul is called God force by the scientist. Now we can say God force. This is the God force. Or you can say according to the Bible, it was a soul that was hovering over the water. I am a Muslim, but in the Quran Allah said believe the Bible, but with caution that there are some corruptions, because the book is very old and translated in many languages. Old language has disappeared. So this is the soul that was hovering above the water. Scientists call this God force. Force and soul, same thing. What is called force in the book of science is called soul in the book of religion. It was said by Socrates, not me. We can say this God force or the soul that was hovering on the water. God said, "Let there be light." So once God said, "Let there be light," so this soul broke, and the strong force became distinct. Once the strong force became distinct, the electromagnetic force was released, so there was light. Electromagnetic force field is the light. So after the command of God, "Let there be light," this strong force becomes distinct. This is written by scientists, not me. So strong force become distinct means this guard force broke and divided in three pieces, and light appeared and a strong force got distinct, mean it also got separated, and there was inflation because these forces light, strong force and weak force, they rode on the space, so there was need of space, so space formed quickly. So there was inflation. Scientists said that there was antimatter, and after some time they say antimatter was annihilated. Finally, proton and neutron electrons formed, and 3 minutes passed. The nuclei of the hydrogen and helium was produced, but the nuclei of the hydrogen and helium was produced, but atom could not form because this universe was hot. So atom separated. Atom means electrons. Electrons could not join with the nuclei, so they were moving freely. This nuclei of proton and helium, nuclei of hydrogen and helium was moving freely, electrons were moving freely, so it was like a thick soup, and nothing could be visible through it. It was like a thick soup of light. So this is a stage, and within 3 minutes universe was created. So I repeat, here the soul or guard force divided, force field forces, strong force, weak force, and electromagnetic force, that means light appeared. Then antiparticles was created. Antiparticles means elementary particles was created. Then proton, neutron was created. Then plasma of hydrogen and helium. Plasma of hydrogen and helium means atoms. In the atoms, electron could not join because of heat. Electrons was moving freely, so it took the form of a plasma. Electrons was moving freely. Then universe became cold, and the hydrogen and helium was created. This is the stage. After 3 minutes, hydrogen and helium. After 5,000 years, hydrogen and helium was created. And there was nothing to produce light because hydrogen and helium doesn't produce light. So this universe was a dark universe. Gradually, this hydrogen and helium joined into small galaxies, and in the small galaxies there were big stars. Big stars started producing light and started producing new heavier elements in their core. Big star burns rapidly and quickly produce different elements, and at one stage the star explode and scattered the elements produced in them in the space. And present galaxies and stars require many heavier elements to form, and it has got many heavier elements. And these heavier elements, the sun has many heavier elements in it. These heavier elements was produced in the hot big stars of the early universe. This is the point where hot big stars were produced. Hot big stars and initial small galaxies produced. Small galaxies gradually became big galaxies by joining with other galaxies and by drawing matter from the surrounding space. Gradually the galaxies became big enough, and the early hot big star produced enough heavier elements, and gradually these stable big galaxies that we see today started to appear, and it after about 1 billion years. After 1 billion years, these galaxies we see stable big galaxies, the spiral galaxies and disk-like galaxies, they form after 1 billion years in the Big Bang model. So remember this 1 billion years. Now initial small galaxies with hot big stars, Those form after 400 million years. 400 after 400 million years, small galaxies with hot big stars form, and the stable big galaxies formed after about 1 billion years. This is the Big Bang model. This is the most of the scientists were supporting this model. About 400 million years were necessary for galaxies and big stars to form. Here. And 1 billion years is necessary for big galaxies with stable stars to form. But what now the James Webb is showing now, that is the point. This also I have written, about 400 million years was necessary for galaxies and big stars to form, and about large stable galaxies could form after about 1 billion years. This is the point of 1 billion years, this is the point of 500 million years. Now I will talk about the Quran's model. Science says this 1 billion years, but James Webb telescope is showing that only after 200 million years, big stable galaxies was present. Big stable galaxies were present, and the James Webb scientists think that initially small galaxies formed, then they joined with one another and formed the big galaxies. Now that is not also being seen. Galaxies did not join with each other. From the beginning, the big galaxies formed. How it could form from the beginning? Big galaxies could form. From the beginning, big galaxies could form if the space was webbed into skies. In the uniform space, there is no way you can explain the concentration of large amount of matter. Scientists say small galaxies formed because they consider here the space was uniform, single sky universe. So here it was not possible for the formation. Large galaxies could not form rapidly. But here, Quran says the universe was webbed into skies. Skies, I have said, it is the webs of space, spherical webs of space containing the matter, one inside another, like the peels of onion. We are in the innermost sky or innermost web of space. As the space was webbed, the matter and the universe was expanding, matter quickly concentrated into galaxies. And we have already discussed, universe started from a big bounce, so there was enough heavy material to form the galaxies, at least up to silicon. This is what the Quran says, and this is what the James Webb telescope indicate. Now, what the James Webb telescope indicate, I show the video again, next part of the his deliberation. He is a scientist. I show you from 6 minutes. Yes, from here.
In at least a few galaxies at what seems to be the redshift of 20, which would place them around 180 million years after the formation of the universe. But more importantly, a lot of them seem to also be shaped like disks, which is really unexpected because it's always been believed that disk-shaped galaxies or spiral galaxies would take much longer to produce. Yet the study right here did discover a lot of disk shapes at relatively faraway distances. Something that's, I guess, slightly better visible in these images produced by the James Webb. Now obviously these are not super high quality images, but they do resemble typical disk shapes or typical spiral galaxies. Here are some of the more distant ones discovered in this study. And for astronomers, this is really unexpected, mostly because of the previous observations from the Hubble telescope. When the scientists started using Hubble, they essentially concluded that a lot of distant galaxies are mostly irregular shaped because of the way that they believed galaxies form, and it would actually take a few 100 million years for galaxies like the Milky Way to start forming. And to some extent, the computer simulations from the last few decades have also proved this to be correct. Galaxies start as irregular and eventually form into disks. This does take a few 100 million years. But that's not what the observations from the James Webb seem to suggest. There seem to be up to 10 times as many distant disk galaxies as initially thought. And many of them already have relatively stable shapes. And currently, obviously, nobody knows why. Moreover, at least one other paper from just a couple of days ago has also discovered that a lot of massive galaxies formed much earlier in the universe than was previously believed. And specifically, they discovered that centers of various massive galaxies have already formed and were already stable approximately 500 million years after the universe began, with many of them to some extent resembling some of the galaxies we find not so far away from our own home right now. And it's not just the mass, the size, or the structure. Analysis of some of these early galaxies has already revealed that a lot of them were very rich in a lot of different complex elements, such as oxygen. And that's sort of unexpected because these complex chemical elements are sort of expected to appear a little bit later. Yet, surprisingly, a huge amount of these elements was discovered in some of these distant galaxies. The scientists expected to mostly find hydrogen and helium, but they found much heavier elements, which suggested that a lot of stars formed much quicker and then went supernova much quicker as well. But not all unusual discoveries came from the edge of the universe. Some of them came from other periods that we thought we understood pretty well. There's this one period known as the cosmic noon. And this is a period approximately...
Now, the scientists expected that the distant galaxies, as we see more distant, we see the more past. So they thought that it should early galaxies should have been formed with the hydrogen and helium mainly, but they find many heavier elements. You have heard that lot of oxygen is found. Oxygen is close to silicon. There could be lot of silicons. So there were a lot of heavier elements in the early universe. This is point one. In the early universe, there was a lot of heavier elements. Lands, at least up to silicon was there because their galaxies were red. It was not so hot. Now this is one point. Another point is it started forming much earlier than predicted. Scientists that believe that universe running its first cycle, that it means the universe started from a big bang, they predict that galaxies must have formed after 400 million years or so. So, from the discoveries of the James Webb, we found that galaxies formed much earlier, and this could happen if the universe started from a big bounce. And from the James Webb, we found that these early galaxies had enough heavy elements. How they find out the heavier elements? They find it out by absorption line. Like the sun, the light of sun. If you pass through a prism, it makes 7 lights. If you see that yellow light is gradually diminishing or its intensity is reducing, then you should understand that something absorbing yellow light is producing in the sun in a mass scale. Now, then you can understand which matter absorb yellow light. If you see that yes, argon or some kind of magnesium absorb yellow light, you understand that there is a lot of magnesium has been produced in the sun. Likewise, they do the analysis of the light and find out what was the matter in the galaxies. They have found out that there are a lot of heavier elements, at least up to silicon, in the early galaxies. And second thing, they found out that it formed much more quickly than they predicted. This is the universe. Heavier elements, at least up to silicon, could be there if the universe started from a big bounce. And this is shown by the James Webb saying 180 million years old matured galaxies. Matured galaxies, stable galaxies with enough heavier elements, exactly supports the Quran. So James Webb is supporting the Quran that there were heavier elements in the early universe, and universe was webbed into skies, so galaxies could quickly form. Within 180 million years, galaxies could form because there was a sky, webs of space, one inside another, like peels of onion. Webs of space, skies. May Allah bless USA for the esteemed James Webb Telescope. Allah Hafiz.